Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to Andrew's Life. Before I get to what this video is going to actually be about, first I'd like to start off by saying this. For those of you that watched my video yesterday, you know that I'm getting ready to make some minor adjustments on this channel. I'm getting ready to transition a little bit. So for those of you that wanna know what that transition is going to look like, go back about 3 to 4 months and watch some of those videos. And then go back even further than that. And those videos are going to give you a healthy idea of what this channel is going to transition to, of what this channel originally was before I got off into my little tangent and I started talking about, other stuff. So now moving forward. So the question that some of you are probably wondering, which I'm going to answer. The question that some of you may have not even that some of you may have not even asked yourself, which I'm going to ask for you, is: so let's say you don't have a lot of money. You work a 9 to 5 job at the plant. You don't have a lot of money. Maybe you don't make a lot of money. You know, you know what? You don't have a lot of money in savings. And you know what? We're going to add one more thing. Let's say you even have a bankruptcy on your credit. Can you still buy a house with a Chapter 7 bankruptcy? Little to no money saved up, and working a job that doesn't pay a lot. Now, many people would suggest that you don't buy a house under those conditions. And then they will follow it up with some of the potential issues that you could have if you do buy a house under those conditions. But I'm going to be honest with you people. Can you buy a house under the conditions that I just mentioned? I'm going to say yes. To be honest, it may not be the best idea for most of you to do, but it is possible. And if you really, really are sick and tired of paying rent and you prefer to be a homeowner ASAP, can you buy a house under those conditions? You can. And now that I've answered that question, now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of why. But before I get into that, I'm going to first start out by talking about myself a little bit. Now, back in the late 2000s, I filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy back in late 2008. I want to say I filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy because I was out here being reckless with money. And from late 2008 to 2009, I slowly watched myself losing everything that I thought was mine. I say I thought was mine because it was mine, but technically it wasn't mine. It belonged to Wells Fargo. So that's why I say it the way I say it. So anyhow, I filed bankruptcy in late 2008. I got my discharge sometime off in 2009. And I had I got into a traffic accident, and due to that traffic accident, I got a small settlement, and it wasn't a lot of money, but it was enough money to where I was able to buy a house and pay cash in Toledo, Ohio. I didn't keep that house for real long. The economy up there was garbage at that time, and I decided to ultimately sell the house because, for one, I didn't care for the neighborhood. The neighborhood was very sketchy, in my opinion. And two, there were no jobs up there at this particular time. And this was during the This was during the GFC. So when I left Toledo, I moved into Indiana because I had a good friend that told me that Indiana's economy was fairly solid. Well, to be more specific, she told me Indianapolis, so I took her word, and I moved at that time to Indianapolis. And for the first, I want to say for the first several months, I lived out of my car while I was trying to save up a little bit of money for an apartment. So I saved up a little bit of money, got my apartment. Eventually, I met my girlfriend. We dated for a number of years. We lived together, and eventually, that relationship took its course, and we separated. And at that time, I did not want to rent no more. I wanted to go back to becoming a homeowner. So, how do I become a homeowner with bad credit, low income job? Because at the time, I was working a job that was only paying me $10.50 an hour, and little to no money in savings. I had a little bit of money in savings due to the time that I spent living out of my car, primarily. And also, I worked two jobs, so I was able to save a little bit of money off of my second job as well. So how do I buy a house under those conditions? Well, I purchased a home on land contracts. That's what I did. Now, when purchasing a home on land contract, I made a video talking about this. I want to say about a couple of months ago, I made a video talking about this. I forgot exactly what the title of that video was, but if you go back on this channel, maybe about a month or two ago, I made a video talking about how to buy a house on land contract and some of the things to watch out for, and some of the cautions to take when buying on land contract. But anyhow, I bought a house on land contracts. And how did I find these houses that were for sale on land contract? Well, clearly they're not going to be on Realtor.com or on Zillow. I went on Craigslist. I mean, nowadays you can probably still find those type of listings on Craigslist, or you can go to the Facebook Marketplace and find houses like that. Sometimes, if you're driving around in a particular neighborhood, you can find signs: house for sale, land contract, call whatever number, and then when you call that number, they'll give you the rundown of what the contract agreement is going to be in terms of what kind of money you need to have down, what your monthly payments are going to be, and how long are you going to have to pay on that house until the house is paid off. So yeah, I bought a house on land contracts, and the first house I purchased on land contract, I ended up giving back because the house was a complete nightmare. I mean, for one, I'll be honest, I was gonna overpay for the house. If I would have kept that contract, I would have overpaid immensely for the house. And secondly, I found out later that the house had tons of black mold. So, make a long story short, I gave the house back. Fortunately, I didn't have to put down a lot of money. So the money I lost on the house, whatever, I didn't care. I just didn't want to pay on the house no more because the house had a lot of issues, to include black mold. So then I went on ahead and I bought my second house on land contract, which the condition of the house, although it was a little rough, it was still in better condition because it didn't have any mold. And secondly, the price of the house was a lot cheaper, and I liked the area better. So I bought this particular in this house I bought on land contract. If I can find a picture, I will post it somewhere on this video. So I purchased this house on land contract. I mean, the contract term was for It was a 7 year contract term if I can remember. My memory at this point is a little foggy because it's been such a long time ago since I've purchased this home. Now, this house did not have working. Well, this house had busted water lines. Like the main water line was leaking. Is what I mean to say. 'Cause I remember when I bought this house, I got my first water bill, and my my utility bill was like $500 because, like, in the city of Anderson, Indiana, they put your water and your electric all on one bill. So I'm looking at my bill and it's like $500. This has got to be a mistake. Well, sure enough, it was not a mistake. So I called the plumber out. They came and looked at the line, and it was discovered that I had a bad water line. At the time, I didn't have enough money to fix the water line, which is the reason why whenever you buy a house, it's always good to have a sizable amount of money in savings. But me wanting this house, I was willing to live on the edge for a while. And I'm by myself. I don't have no kids, so whatever. Now, if I would have had some kids, I would have had to make some different choices. But anyways, I decided to have the city cut off my water until I got money to fix the water lines. Now, I called Roller Rooter Plumber to come and check my water lines, and they told me, yeah, they can fix it. They gave me a price which was ridiculous. It was, I would say, it was double the price of what the average plumber would have charged for that type of work. And they told me, well, we do got a credit card. So I'm thinking, okay, well, credit card. For a minute, I kind of got excited. And then I asked them some questions. Well, okay, well, what are the interest rates on this credit card? Well, the interest rates were 24%. It's like, okay, well, no thank you, but no thank you. So I decided to just live in this house for an extended period of time without running water. So that's my little story of how of how I was able to become a homeowner with terrible credit, earning low income, and little money saved up. And another thing to understand when buying a house on land contract is most houses that are for sale on land contract are not going to be in your quote unquote most desirable areas. Many of your houses that are for sale on land contract, the houses are going to most likely be a fixer upper. You're going to have to put some work into the house to bring it up to par. Secondly, the neighborhoods of many of these houses are not going to, they're going to be in lower income areas. I mean, not necessarily the hood, but lower income areas. Now, whenever I went about buying a house on land contracts, I mean, for me, I looked for houses that were at least habitable. Now, habitable for me would have been A, the heat works, B, the electric works, and preferably it would have been nice if the water would have worked. But I was able to get around the water deal. But the house that I purchased, the electric worked, and the heat worked. Thank God. And the roof didn't have no leaks. And structurally, it was fairly solid. So, for me, that house was habitable. So, for those of you guys that are out here, you're looking to buy a house, your credit may not be up to snuff to be able to go through the traditional mortgage route. This is, I just wanted to educate you guys today on another option of how you can go about buying a house. Now, I will tell you flat out that if you buy a house on land contract, you do need to do your due diligence. You need to make sure that the house actually belongs to the person who's selling it to you. even after you sign the paperwork and after you move into the house, I would say every month you need to check up. You need to do a checkup with your local county office and make sure that the house that you're purchasing does not have any liens on it. Make sure that the person who you're buying the house from didn't decide to go on a big shopping spree and buy a bunch of crap that they couldn't afford to buy and pay cash, and now they decided to take out a crap little loans against the house that you're trying to buy for yourself. So every month you're gonna want to make sure that everything is on the up and up in terms of the ownership of the house. Make sure there's no kind of liens on it. Make sure the property taxes are being paid up like they're supposed to if it's on them to pay it. And let's see what else. I was going to say one more thing. And obviously, if a time comes to where you're not able to make your monthly payment, you need to stay in touch with the seller of the house and keep regular communication. Work out some type of a plan to where either A, you can make a partial payment, or B, you can pay late. Because under a land contract, I mean, your land contracts are oftentimes are going to be treated like a lease agreement. So if you miss a payment, technically you are in default of your contract, and they can begin eviction procedures on you. And if they wanted to be a jerk about it, they can begin eviction procedures on you. And once they do, not only will you have to catch up on your payment, but you will also have to pay all the attorney fees as well. So try to make sure that you're not dealing with some asshole who's gonna, pull that type of shit on you. Now, fortunately for me, I did not have to deal with somebody like that. Fortunately for me, the person who I was buying my house from were very understanding. They were very professional, and they didn't do anything sneaky. And ultimately, I was able to get the house paid off. And I've driven by the house, I want to say about a couple of months ago, and my heart was to the floor of what happened to the house. Now, I made a video of that area, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 months or so ago, so feel free to go back and watch it. I think the video was titled, What Happened. I forgot what the title of the video was, but it's on the channel if you want to go watch it. Just go on my channel, type up Anderson, Indiana, and that video will most likely come up. It was about 5 or 6 months or so, give or take. And I'm going to try to have a picture of that house up so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. And oh yeah, here's what I wanted to say. So yeah, if you're looking at buying a house on land contracts, I'm going to tell you right now, uh, it's not going to in most cases, buying a house on land contract is not going to be the best deal you're going to get. You're going to get a far better deal if you just go through the traditional mortgage program. But if your credit's shoddy and your money's not that good and you choose to buy on contract for those purposes, for the reasons why I chose to buy on contract back then, just understand that you might be paying a little bit more money for your house than you would normally. And some people, and also understand that, like right now, the going interest rate, I believe, is between 6 to 7%. If you buy on land contracts, they might hit you up with 8 and 9% or even 10% interest. So just just have a healthy understanding of what you're getting ready to sign when you buy on land contracts. On land contracts. In fact, I would encourage you to pay a little bit of money to a real estate attorney to have them read over the agreement before you choose to sign. That way, you have a healthy understanding of what you're signing. And that's about all I gotta say on this one. So for those of you that are looking at buy, can't even talk. For those of you that want to be a homeowner, I wish you guys the best of luck. And until the next time, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.